A cold rain fell on the London night. Droplets tapped a steady rhythm against the fogged-up windows of Dorian Vale's attic apartment. The grandfather clock struck midnight just as a knock echoed through the silence. Slow, deliberate, urgent. I, Lucien Crowe, went to answer the door. Standing before me was a tall man in a soaked overcoat, his hood pulled low over his face. His hands trembled as he held out a letter sealed in red wax. "Please give this to Mr. Dorian Vale. It's about my wife and about a house with no entrance." Before I could speak, he turned and disappeared into the thick mist. Dorian took the letter, slicing it open with a small silver knife. Inside was a yellowed sheet of paper, its writing unsteady and erratic. "I am not mad, but my wife entered a house without doors. I saw her through the window staring out, but she never came back. Help me before I too am called inside." At the bottom was an address: Langwood Hollow, an abandoned marshland. Dorian raised an eyebrow and looked at me. "Are you ready for a visit to a place where no one enters without being lost forever?" I nodded. The mirror case still lingered in my mind, but this time I sensed what we were about to face wasn't a reflection, but utter emptiness. We left London before dawn. The carriage cut through fog-drenched roads heading south toward Langwood Hollow, a place once settled by 18th century pioneers, now abandoned for nearly 50 years. Our driver, Malcolm, was an old but sturdy man. When he heard the name Langwood, he fell silent for several seconds before muttering, "I'll take you there, but I won't go in. No one should go in." We arrived at dusk. Langwood Hollow sat sunken between dead trees and thick white fog. At its center stood a decrepit house, its walls gray and wooden, its roof slanted, and most strangely, it had no doors, no entrance at the front, sides, or back. Only tall, narrow windows, like blind eyes staring outward. Dorian stepped down, eyes fixed on the house. "It wasn't built like this," he said gravely. "It once had a door, but someone or something removed the way in." I shivered, not from the cold. I had seen someone watching us from a second-floor window, a woman, long-haired, standing utterly still. "You see that?" I whispered. "I do," Dorian replied, gaze still locked on the house. "She's waiting for someone to open the door, but to enter a place with no entrance, we must find a path not meant for the living." We circled the house 3 times. No door. No trace of one ever existing. It was as if the structure was a sealed monolith, insentient and impenetrable. Yet the woman's gaze followed us from the window above, cold and resigned. Dorian crouched near the foundation, fingers brushing the moss-covered walls. He tapped gently, closing his eyes to listen. "There's empty space behind this wall," he murmured, "but not one we can reach through physical means." I looked around. The air grew colder, even though the sun had yet to set. No wind, no birds, only the faint sound of breathing, whose I couldn't tell. "Do you feel it?" Dorian asked. "This air isn't just still, it's being held, as if time has stopped." He pulled out a pocket watch. The second hand had frozen, though I could still hear ticking in my head. Dorian's watch had stopped the moment we arrived at Langwood. "If we can't enter physically," I asked, "then how?" "Through memory, or dreams, or death. But first, we must find what sealed the door." That night, we pitched a tent at the forest's edge, no more than 100 steps from the house. In the foggy dark, Langwood Hollow looked like a black stone drifting in mist. Near midnight, I awoke to a whispering voice. A deep, raspy male tone echoed from within the woods. "Not everyone is allowed in. You must give something, a piece of soul." I grabbed the lantern and followed the voice. In its dim light, I saw a figure leaning against a tree. It was the man from last night, the letter bearer. His face was pale as wax, his eyes clouded like the long dead. "She calls me. From inside that house," he whispered. "I can't go in, but I hear her call. Every night, through the window." Then the voice stopped, and I am no longer me. I stepped back, but he did not follow. He only pointed toward Langwood and spoke one last time. "If you wish to enter, find the old path, where people once came and went, the old church, the crypt below." Then he vanished into the fog, as though he'd never been there. When I returned, Dorian was waiting, eyes gleaming. "I saw you go," I heard the voice, and I found an ancient map. Langwood was built atop a 17th century church, burned down after a mass disappearance. I felt a chill, and the only entrance is underground. Dorian lifted the lantern, pointing to a moss-covered stone near the house. "We dig at dawn, and if we're lucky, we'll step into the house with no doors. Though there's no promise, we'll step back out." Dawn came pale and sluggish, as if light itself dared not touch Langwood Hollow. We dug beneath the stone Dorian had pointed out. The soil was strangely soft, damp, and smelled of rotting time. After an hour, our shovels struck something hard, brick, gray-black bricks, veiled in moss and ash. We cleared the dirt to reveal an iron hatch, etched with a broken crucifix. "A crypt entrance," Dorian confirmed. "Untouched for ages, but no lock. It needs none. Those who enter don't want to leave." I grasped the handle and pulled. The hatch groaned like a warning. Cold air spilled from below, thick with the scent of burnt incense and dried chrysanthemums. We lit our lanterns and descended. A spiral stone stairway led to a narrow hallway, its walls lined with alcoves filled with skulls and bones. "This was once a secret graveyard for the monastery," Dorian whispered. "And if I'm right, it leads directly to the house's foundations." We delved deeper into the darkness, our steps echoing faintly, until a knock echoed ahead, gentle, not ours. A stone door appeared at the corridor's end. On it was carved in Latin, "Intra quisis et timeas," "Enter who knows, and be afraid." Dorian placed a hand on the door. "This is a test of memory, or spirit. Brace yourself, Lucien. We're not just opening this door, we're unsealing a buried past." The door began to tremble. It didn't need a key, nor a push. It opened on its own, slowly, echoing, as if it had waited centuries. The air beyond was different, dense, silent, and compressed by something unseen. We stepped through into shadow. The first room was a circular hall, vaulted ceilings, stone walls covered in ancient symbols, many worn by time. At the center, a round wooden table with an open leather-bound journal, as if left mid-read. Dorian brought the lantern close. The handwriting was feminine, trembling. "How long have I been here? Time does not pass. I do not age, yet I do not live. I only remember. And I remember him." He turned the page. A rough sketch appeared. The man who gave us the letter. Beneath it, "If you come, don't look into the mirror. Even if you hear my voice, even if you see me cry." I shuddered. In the corner, as the warning said, stood a full-length mirror, veiled in black cloth. Under the lantern's light, the fabric pulsed, as if something inside was breathing. "Lucien," Dorian said quickly, snapping me from my trance. "We need to find the stairs. She, the woman, is trapped here, but not by walls, by her own memories." I nodded, but my eyes lingered on the mirror. I swore. I saw the veil rise slightly, as if someone within was about to step out. We left the hall, following a narrow corridor. No door had handles. They opened only when Dorian placed his hand on them and murmured ancient words, as if the house recognized him. "This place isn't haunted," he said. "It's alive. a maze fed by longing, regret, and love unfulfilled. "And her?" I asked. Dorian stopped at a grand double door. Pale blue light spilled from its crack. "If she's still alive, this is her mind, and if we open it, we must be ready to face our own memories." He pushed the door, and we entered a world beyond reality. Blue mist filled the room, which had no visible walls, floor, or ceiling. Only drifting fragments of memories, glimmering, shifting like half-remembered dreams. A stone door silently closed behind us. Dorian reached for one of the floating visions. The room shifted instantly. We stood in a sunlit kitchen. Laughter echoed. The scent of baked pastries filled the air. The woman, her, was slicing cake. Her husband entered, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Her memory," Dorian whispered. "It still lives, though she's been held too long." I stepped forward. The scene dissolved, replaced by another, a wedding left unfinished. The bride was absent. The groom stood waiting, eyes hollow. Darkness surged in. The scene shifted to a white room, where she stood among mirrors, not reflections, but fragmented selves. One wept, one laughed, one whispered to her own ear. "Her mind is fractured," Dorian said. "She no longer knows who she is, and if we don't bring her out, she'll remain trapped between layers of mirrored memory." I approached the central image, the woman staring at us. She didn't move, but when I raised my hand, she raised hers, not a reflection, but real. "He forgot me," she whispered, "but I still wait. I can't leave unless someone remembers my name." Dorian turned to me, eyes intense. "We need her true name, not a legal identity, the name spoken with love." I remembered. The letter only said, "my wife." The journal never mentioned her name. "She's fading," I said, "because no one truly calls her name anymore." The space began to tremble. Memories melted like glass under fire. "Lucien, if we don't say the right name, she's trapped forever, and so are we." I closed my eyes. In a last flicker of memory, I heard a voice, soft as wind. "Elira." I opened my eyes, looked at her, and spoke. "Elira." Light exploded, pure white, then darkness. I woke in a blur of white. My heart pounded as if I'd escaped a dream. No room, no mirrors, only endless, blinding white. Dorian lay beside me, still unconscious, but standing before us was Elira. She no longer seemed lost, her eyes calm, her hair loose, her once tattered white dress now pristine. "Thank you for remembering my name," she whispered. "A name is the last thread to the world, and you called me back." Dorian stirred, opened his eyes, and looked at her. He nodded. "You're free, but to leave, we need a way." She gave a sad smile. "There is a way, but not visible, only by faith. Walk where you see nothing, and trust that there's a path." I took Dorian's hand. Together we stepped into the blank void. No floor, no walls, but as we walked, the ground formed beneath our feet, one step at a time. After 3 steps, I turned. Elira was gone. A small wooden door floated in midair. Dorian opened it. We stepped through. Langwood Hollow was no longer the same. The house had collapsed, leaving only cracked stones and cold ashes. The driver, Malcolm, waited, unsurprised. "You're the first to come back in 30 years. On the way back to London, Dorian was quiet. I asked, "Do you think Elira was truly freed?" "I think she was remembered, and sometimes that's the only release a soul needs." I stayed silent, but from my coat pocket I pulled something strange, a small piece of mirror. I didn't know where I'd gotten it, but etched upon its surface was a name, Elira Vale. I turned to Dorian. He looked at the mirror, then at me. He said nothing, only smiled, a rare smile. Don't forget to hit subscribe to catch episode 3, White Smoke on the Stone Grave.